Our first Shabbat back in the sanctuary, Shehechianu, the last day in April, on this 33rd day of the counting of the Omer. While we think about those families in Israel yesterday who were personally impacted by a tragic accident that occurred while they were celebrating, our hearts go out to them. Today was Lag BaOmer, a not so famous minor holiday on the Jewish calendar. Today is the last day of April. This sweet moment gives us what to look forward to. More days of spring, all of the summer ahead of us, more hugging grandchildren, hosting Shabbat dinners, travel, and coming back together to temple to pray and gather together, even as we continue to wear our masks and observe spatial distance. So many of you have told me that you are counting the days until we can gather in person to sing our prayers together. I want to take a few minutes with you on this Shabbat to ask, why should we care about these obscure Jewish practices of counting the Omer and Lag BaOmer? Growing up, I didn't know anything about the counting of the Omer and Lag BaOmer, except that the men's group of my childhood temple always made a hot dog cookout for all of us and called it the Lag BaOmer picnic. That was it. So here is the backstory. The Torah tells us to count starting on the second day of Passover to Shavuot, when tradition teaches us that we all stood together and received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Shavuot falls 50 days after that second day of Pesach. In the Torah, both Pesach and Shavuot had an agricultural association. The Israelites counted 7 times, 7 weeks, from one harvest to the next. And I love that. Living in San Francisco, a 7 by 749 square mile city, the number 7 is always mystical and magical. Over time, the focus of these days shifted from agricultural to historical, and then from history to Jewish identity building. The biblical counting starts at a dark time historically before the Exodus. After counting 7 weeks times 7 days, we arrive at the biblical festival of Shavuot, a joyful celebration of coming together to receive Torah. Perhaps because that event is tied in with the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey, it became traditional not only to stay up all night studying Torah, but also to enjoy extra dairy products like blintzes and ice cream. So mark your calendars for the night of May 16th for Torah study with all of the clergy and a little Erev Shavuot, a beautiful Erev Shavuot service. And then on Monday, May 17th, you should pop some Lactaid and enjoy a dairy fest. And I say, if eating some extra ice cream on a Monday is a Jewish identity building exercise, sign me up. Still trying to make the counting of the days mean something? Here's what strikes me. This Shabbat, we read Parashat Emor, about what our ancestors heard God say so long ago. The portion tells us about Moadei Adonai, which are all those holidays, including Shabbat, Yom Kippur, and the Omer. What is more astonishing than the fact that these Moadei Adonai, these biblical God told us to do it holidays, are alive and practiced by us today. What a stunning example of Judaism's resilience. More than that, our unbroken chain of tradition from Mount Sinai to San Francisco demonstrates how Jewish practices evolve throughout history to bring meaning to each generation. And just as one small example, that preschool girl I met on my way in here, her family was going home to order some pizza and watch some movie together. And that is a very different way of practicing Shabbat than in the Torah, but the core of coming together and resting and celebrating as a family, that has been maintained from then until now. What counting days really means in our time is that it is up to us to make each day count. Whatever numbers of days each of us will live, it is surely not enough. So we are challenged to do the most with what we get. We usually don't even know the total number of our days. Over time, days blend together from one Zoom meeting to the next Zoom, one meal to the next, one Monday to the next. With Mo'adei Adonai, we elevate a handful of days each year and make them memorable with our rituals and celebrations. Once a year, we take 7 days times 7 weeks, the Omer, just like in the Torah. We slow down long enough to count each day, to consider each day, even if it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We count each day until we all stand together to receive Torah and have some ice cream and give thanks that we are alive. Tomorrow is May the 1st. Tomorrow is the 34th day of the counting of the Omer. 31 glorious days of a beautiful spring month lie ahead, each to be counted and lived. And as we count, we wake up each morning, we ask God, we thank God for life, and we ask ourselves, what am I going to do today? How am I going to be a kind person? How am I going to fix something that's broken in this world? How am I going to make today count? Shabbat Shalom.